What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Thanks for joining me today. I have another really special review for you here today. I have something new from HGLRC. You might have watched my full review of the Forward 6S capable flight controller that I reviewed yesterday, and today I have a 3-inch quad in the house that is running that Forward, the FD F4 on here. Super awesome 45 amp ESCs and really nice motors. They're 1408 motors running these 3-inch props. We're going to go over all the specs in this review, and I'm going to take you outside. We're going to fly it. I'm going to show you how that CADX camera looks on there. Very, very nice camera. And what's so cool about this quad is that it came from HGLRC to me all set up and ready to go. All I pretty much had to do was bind it up, set up my modes inside BetaFlight, and just go fly this. I had propellers in the box, everything I needed to go out and fly, for the exception of a battery. We'll talk about the pros and cons in this review. We'll also go over the frame design and the way they have this quad set up. I think you're gonna like the way this looks. It's kind of a lowrider stack, and there's just enough room to get the XM Plus receiver on there, and it already has the antennas out the back and the stubby antenna as well. If you'd like to join up with our Patreon, please do, because I'm giving away this Mobula 7 HD to one of my lucky Patreon supporters. You can check out the link down below. It says be my friend. Click on that and join up and get in there on our Discord, because we have new moderators in there. We have a lot of FPV chat. Guys are helping each other left and right in there, and it's really growing a lot. There's tons of new messages every day inside the Drone Camps Discord chat, and that's a part of the Patreon package. So join up and become my friend, and make a lot of new friends in the community as well. So lots going on there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the flying, guys. I think you're going to like the flying that this little guy does. It is super awesome for a new hot rod little 3-inch quad. Here we go. Let's do some flying. Alright guys, welcome back. Now we can go ahead and dive into this little quad. This is a very capable freestyle or racing 3-inch. It's rocking some Gem Fan. They are the 3052 3052 props. These props actually seem to work better than the HQ props also that I tried. I have a whole ton of these from HQ, and thanks HQ for those, but these have sort of a narrow cord in the middle. This one had a little better punch out, so if you're looking for a little more freestyle punch out and sort of floaty feeling to your quad, this is going to give you that. But still, you got to keep in mind it does fly like a 3-inch, so I didn't have, obviously not as much power as something like a 5-inch, and it doesn't float quite as much as a 5-inch. And also when you're coming back around from those big maneuvers, I felt like I needed more throttle on the bottom end, and I did do a couple butt bombs, kind of bouncing off the battery a few times coming around in big maneuvers. So with that said, the power system is good, but I feel like I'm wanting more power in the bottom end when I come around from those big maneuvers. That's just one thing that I did notice. Now, the battery of choice to fly on this obviously is going to be something like the 4S 850 milliamp. And you can run up to 1000 milliamp with this quad. The frame, we'll talk about durability for a second. The frame came back in one piece from my banging it around, and you guys know I'm usually pretty hard on quads, and I don't just kind of field fly it in a baseball field and go easy on it and just cruise around and do little flips and things. I actually get these quads hauling ass, and I go around the trees and take some chances with these quads, and sometimes they break on the first review, and that's good for you because you can get really a real world kind of look at this quad and an honest review. The frame, like I said, it is fairly durable. It is replaceable arms on there. They do come off. You can get a frame kit for this. You can get extra arms. They're 4mm replaceable arms, 3mm top and bottom plates, and the sandwich down at the very bottom. And you can see that this is fairly a lowrider design, meaning that the top is sort of more lower than you'd traditionally see. We have plenty of tilt available for that Caddx Ratel camera. As you can see up here, I've got it cranked all the way up to about 35 degrees. And speaking of Caddx Ratel, here we are, guys. You're getting sort of a first look as well in this video of the Caddx Ratel camera. It's a very hot camera right now. Everyone's talking about this one. It has a 1.66mm lens on here, and look at that sort of fisheye opening down there inside that lens. Sort of see that bubble in there, almost like a GoPro lens, like a little mini GoPro lens. It allows more light to get into the aperture, and it makes a really nice picture quality for you. And they're having a pretty good success with the Ratel so far. Also on board, I mentioned that this quad is rocking HGLRC's also new 20x20 flight controller, 45 amp, 50 amp ESCs that can handle up to 6S. And here it is outside the quad. And I showed you this in yesterday's review. Really nice setup with the harness here. Very easy to solder up. And the flight controller itself as well. I went over all the specs for this one as well. Really solid piece of equipment. If you want to run up to 6S on anything, you can with this stack. Smart audio and all the bells and whistles on there with that VTX that comes on board. It has actually 7 bands on there, A through L, with race band as well. Pit mode, you have all the way up to 350 milliwatt on this. It also has the option for GPS. If you decided you wanted to build a 3-inch GPS, the flight controller will also handle GPS. And I'll show you that sort of setup coming up here on the spec sheet. But 45 amp ESCs are great. We haven't seen a lot of 45 amp 3-inch setups in quite a while. And the motors on board are sort of a mid-range motor. They are the new forward motors from HGLRC. You can see that branding on there. HGLRC Tech forward. They're really running this forward brand a lot here. 1408, 2400 kV. We got this anodized blue aluminum, kind of a cool design on the top, open bottom motor design, pretty thick coils in the bottom, and very notchy. That's the good news. It feels really notchy. And if you guys are new on the channel, notchy motors means that they're nice high quality magnets, which means it's going to give you a really nice power. And that traditional size motor stem right there, which is nice for this open hole prop design here, not the 2 bolts on the top like some of the smaller 3-inch props have. So this is a pretty beastie motor, and you should get plenty of power on 4S 850. I would suggest maybe the Tattoo batteries. Now, what I like the most about these bind and flies from HGLRC is that a lot of times when you get one in the mail from them, it's pretty much ready to go. My XM Plus is already installed on top, and you can see the bind button is just underneath the carbon there, and it's exposed so I could get to it with a little bamboo skewer, and that's what I use a lot of times to bind my receivers. I don't like to put like metal screwdrivers in there, little mini screwdrivers, because I'm afraid I'm going to short it out or mess up something on the board. You don't want to touch metal to metal once you power your quad on. Never a good idea. All the wiring in here looks great. Everything is super shiny. So the build quality of this is an A+. They have a zip tie on each arm, and I did break one of them right here while I was flying. We've got this little stubby, what they call the hammer, 5.8 antenna. And this is great because I've talked about this angle before. You want your antenna mounted on an angle. Not typically straight out, but a little bit of an angle is great. And they have this TPU mount back here that's custom made, and it has flex to it. So it has some give. It's not going to totally rip off in a crash. This TPU stuff is almost indestructible. You've got 4 bolts on the top plate. Really easy access to the top of your mount there. They've got dampening all the way through this. If you look really, really close here at this stack, look at this. The flight controller has 2 layers of dampening below it and some underneath the ESCs right there. We have some more metal brackets on the bottom. And in the back we have an XT60, which I would think that they would be running maybe a XT30 on this, but I think they wanted to accommodate larger batteries if you decide to run something like a 1300, or if you want to try 1000 milliamp. You've got your capacitor back here for cleaning up your video. So that's why the video on this looks crystal clear in conjunction with the Caddx Ratel camera. All of that together works really, really nice. But I think they did a good job on this frame, and as far as the specs go, it's probably one of the top spec'd 3-inch race quads out there right now to date. So they're kind of pushing the bar again. They're right at the ceiling of the specs. They threw everything they could at this quad. So I think whatever the retail value is on this one is absolutely worth it. That's going to be worth the price because the performance that you're going to get from it, and then some, probably more performance than you really need. Most pilots will. But it's there if you need it, like a sports car. It has a little bit of an angle on the front. You see how the front has sort of a curve to it, and the back arms go straight out. So if you're putting new arms on yours after you crashed and broke an arm, just pay attention to that. There's a little bit of curve in the front. It's kind of nice. It goes around this way. This goes straight in, straight out. Very simple design, and this one's going to be easy to work on too, because it's really easy to get to that stack. There's not a lot of cram space in there. It's really nice use of space, and there's not a lot of space, but it's nicely put together, really simple. But I'm happy to say that this one came back in one piece. So the durability is 5 stars on the durability. I think it's a really tough and rigid little frame. It feels really solid in my hands, and I think that they chose an amazing flight controller to put on this one. Obviously their new F4 forward flight controller with massive ESCs for a 3-inch, the Ratel camera, and a really awesome micro VTX that supports up to 350 milliwatts. So you got all the bells and whistles here, and that awesome TPU mount. So an easy star rating of 4.5 out of 5. The only thing that I would like to see is that maybe it was a little bit lighter somehow, but I don't see how they're going to shave any weight off this, honestly. If they shave weight off the frame, then they're going to make it less durable for you. So I think that it's right about the size it needs to be. So yeah, I'm going to say 4.5 stars. This one isn't a safe and easy bet if you wanted to get a 3-inch that you can trust. I think the quality is good here. So let's check out the weight, and then we'll jump into some BetaFlight for you. So we'll go ahead and set this on the scale, and we'll see what we get. I've got 2 batteries here to test, a 3 and a 4S 850. And dry weight without the battery is 178 grams on the dot. And now with a 3S, let's check out a 3S 850 with the quad on here. See if I can get that to balance for you guys. Man, this is going to work out to be under 250 grams. Kind of crazy. 248.3 grams. So all this power under 250 grams, you guys, with a 3S battery. That's amazing. Let's go ahead and set that on there another way, just to double check that. Yeah, so it looks like we're just a little bit above there, 252.7. And then with the 4S, obviously we're going to be over the 250 gram mark. We're at 275.9. If you wanted to slide under the 250 gram mark, you could run a 3S 650 on there, and you're going to get underneath that. If you're just cruising, if you just want a cruiser, 178.4 grams. Really, actually pretty light for what it is. It feels really beastie in my hands. So let's go ahead now and let's jump into some BetaFlight. Let me show you what I have set up on here, and I'll share my PIDs with you guys. So it really does fly awesome, like a maniac. Here we go. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get the quad hooked up inside BetaFlight. Just going to go ahead and plug in your USB cable. Make sure you're using a data cable as always, otherwise it won't connect. And install the drivers for your PC, guys. So you're going to check your orientation first, left and right, backwards and forwards. That all looks good, so let's go ahead and go to the first menu. That will be the ports menu. You can see we have IRC Tramp on UART2 over here selected on the peripherals. That's good there for your smart audio. Down on UART6 we have the Serial RX enabled right there. That's for your XM Plus receiver. So at this point you're going to go ahead and save and reboot. Let's go down to the configuration page next. We have traditional setup, right turn rear, 4 is right turn, 2 is left turn, and 3 is left turn. They have the motor idle throttle value set to 3, so I changed it up to 4.5. That's kind of a standard default setting. I would suggest doing that for you as well. D-Shot 1200 for your ERC motor feature, your protocol. And we have 0 out on every single point here for the board and sensor alignment. And arming, you can set that angle to 180 here. For your receiver, if you're using the XM Plus, go ahead and set serial base receiver spec set S-Bus there. S-Bus for your RX serial receiver provider there. And other features, we're going to have telemetry, OSD, ESC sensor, and anti-gravity sensor, and dynamic filter on. You don't have any GPS there, so not at this point, but you can add it later on this one if you want. You could do a D-Shot beacon configuration on here. You can make it beep with D-Shot. Your ESCs will chirp when you select your buzzer switch, but you don't really need it because you have that buzzer built in there. If you don't have a buzzer on yours, you can go ahead and check both of those and go ahead and save and reboot at this point again. We're going to come back into BetaFlight, and now we got a power and battery. And what I always do is I turn down the minimum cell voltage to 2.9 here, maximum cell voltage through 4.3, that's normal, and warning cell voltage is 2.9. Go ahead and save that. That way if you throttle up, it's not going to start beeping at you. Fail safe, we want stage 1. Stage 2, we want 2. And when it's set to drop there, make sure that you have drop, very important. And go ahead and save and reboot again, and you'll come back in. And now we're going to go down to the PID tuning screen here, and I'll just zoom into my PIDs on here for you. And you can pause this video and copy all my PIDs over to your machine, and once you're done with proportional, integral, and derivative, go ahead and save. I have my super rate set to 7.0 on all pitch, roll, and yaw axis. That's pretty good there. And down at the bottom here we have PID controller settings. They do have acro trainer limit to set to 20, I-turn rotation, nothing else turned on down here. You can leave all that the same, and you have a rates preview down here. If you want to use your transmitter at this point and you're bound up to your quad, you can check out your roll and your pitch rate, how fast it's rolling. So we'll go down to receiver now, and for this one you want set to AETR for Frsky XM Plus receivers. It's a tab right here. RSSI, it's disabled at this point. Now we're going to go down to modes, and I only have it set to ARM, and I have it set to straight up acro. So if you're new and you want to add another switch for your flight modes, you can do that. You can set that to aux2, and you can have stability mode, which is angle here. And on that switch you'll have angle there, and the next one down you can do horizon if you'd like. That'll just allow you to do sort of flip and return to stable, which is nice. And then your third position down on your aux2 switch would be acro, would be free floating over here. So go ahead and save that. And the next thing, the last switch would be your beeper switch here. We have that set to aux3. And when that's active, it'll start beeping, let you know where it is in the weeds. It's kind of nice. Now we'll go to the OSD, and the OSD is nice. I love BetaFlight OSD. As you can see here, I have very minimal setup. I have my main battery voltage here, and I have my individual cell voltage there. I have the name of it here, HGLRC Aero 3. My VTX channel, which is really cool to have that on there. And my fly time, which is going to be timer 2. That one's from the time it's flipped the switch to armed and the time it's disarmed. That's more of a reliable type of timer for me. Because otherwise the timer 1 is just basically from the time you plug the quad in. So if you're working on it on the bench, that might be not quite accurate for your flight time. So let's go ahead to the CLI. Now we're on the CLI, and you can actually, if you'd like to at this point, you could do a DUMP, a dump, and save all these settings. Save those over to a file. That way you have them for later. Go ahead and save that to your desktop or your folder that you have all of your CLI saved, and you can copy and paste this in your flight controller later if you'd like to. Go ahead and press save there, and you're going to restart, come back into BetaFlight, and you should be all done with the setup. It's fairly easy. I'm just going to unplug this one more time here, plug it back in. Sometimes if it says Bluetooth there, you might need to just replug in the USB port. So we're going to go back to the CLI. We're going to check the version on this, and I believe it's from January 2019. Yep. Omnibus F4 V6. And that is the firmware that you're going to choose to reflash this. January 15th, 2019. That's it for this review, guys, and thanks for following along with this BetaFlight tutorial. It's pretty quick and easy for the Aero 3. I think HGLRC has something pretty nice here. It's a pretty solid, rigid looking quad with an awesome power system and that really awesome new Ratel camera from Cadex. So I think it's an easy bet and well worth the USD. So go ahead and pick one up at the link below if you'd like to, and you will support the channel. So I appreciate you watching my review, guys. As always, I'm Justin Davis. Take care, guys. Happy FPV, and I'll see you on the next one.